Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Have you online the other end？因为我们的翻译系统的缘故呢，我们下面的2场由我做现场的翻译，所以会有instead of voice over，我们做一个交互传译，希望大家就是可能会花多一点时间，但是hopefully对那些听不太懂英文的听众呢，这个翻译可以帮助到你们。So we were doing a simultaneous translation because the translation system, I'm going to do translation as you speak. So we slow down the pace a little bit, and after you finish an idea, I will translate to Mandarin Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
look forward to working with you.
Nice. You as well. All right. So kicking off here.
Yeah,
I'm
let
sorry.
me give you a very quick introduction in Chinese. 我先
Gotcha.
做一个简单的自我介绍和对 Chris 的介绍。我是美中硅谷商会的秘书长 Marianne Cheney。然后我们今天非常有幸邀请到的这位 Chris Earl 是加州州政府小企业促进办公室的主任。Chris Earl，那他呢是在就是如何获得州政府援助项目这个方面是非常专业的一位专家，因为他是实际操作帮助很多的中小企业来获得加州政府的这个援助项目。他今天会给我们做一个在比较 general 的，在一个大范围的一个提纲挈领的一个介绍。那也欢迎大家呢在会后和中间提问，这样的话可以就自己关心的一些问题向他寻求建议。OK，you go ahead。
All right. Thank you, everyone, for having me. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share programs and resources out of the state of California.
我可以有这个机会向大家介绍加州政府可以为中小企业提供的一些资源。
So first off, again, I represent the Office of the Small Business Advocate, and my name is Chris Earl. As I mentioned before, I am serving as the acting deputy director, but I also have a regional role of Southern California Regional Advisor under the state's director, Tara Lynn Gray.
首先，我要介绍我是来自于加州政府的小企业促进办公室，是执行主任，并且我同时负责就是加州南部的地区的advisor。
And our office, we focus on three things. First of which is providing information and resources to small businesses. And we do that through a myriad of ways. Secondly, we focus on advocacy for small business, and that could come in the form of bill creation or advocating for funding for small businesses, similar to the COVID-19 Relief Grant Program, which was one of those programs out of our office. And the third thing we like to focus on, or we primarily focus on, is resilience for businesses. Just understanding the climate and the environment living in California, we always have to have resilience at the forefront of our strategic planning.
我们办公室主要有3个方面的服务。首先就是为各种企业提供有效的资源。第二个是帮助企业寻找合适的机会和提供信息。介绍 funding 政府援助的来源。I think I missed the third point.
Resiliency for small businesses, disaster and resiliency, really helping businesses stay prepared for that.
第3就是帮助企业能够度过他们的困难时期。
Right. And today I wanted to talk about a few different things. Obviously, I will talk about procurement, but I also wanted to talk about funding because I know everyone likes to hear about different resources and funding available to businesses. So I'll definitely touch on those.
今天我还是会主要提供怎么样来获取政府的资助。另外一方面很重要的一部分呢，就是我们如何来提供资金，因为我相信大家都对资金的来源非常感兴趣。
And so first of which I wanted to talk about was the California Micro Business Grant Program. And this was just a $50 million grant allotment for eligible micro businesses. This is really focused on street vendors and solopreneurs, those that are very small, less than 5 employees, very low revenue levels. So this grant program was really focused on the smallest of the small businesses.
首先，我们今天介绍的第一个项目就是加州的微型企业，在新冠疫情之后的支援计划。这个计划呢，一共是5000万的资金，它主要是针对于特别小型的企业和生意，比如说是小的餐馆或者这种家庭企业和生意。I'm curious, is there any cap for each applicant?
So because this one's aimed at street vendors, they're looking for those that we're looking at revenue levels like under 50K. So we're looking at the very, very small with this group of this pot of funding. And it's
monthly 50K.
Mhm. And we're partnering with our counties throughout the state to run these programs out. So they'll be coming out through the different counties, but the funding comes from our office.
Okay, you said the 50K venue is annually
under
550?
For the street vendor, yes. So for those street vendors or out, food or food vendors, those types. So they're looking at 50K as the cap on the revenue. So they're really looking for the smallest of the small, and that's because those members weren't eligible for the larger grants, and so we wanted to dedicate some funding for them as well.
对，所以这个项目是我们叫微型企业，那基本上就是说是在年营销额在5万以下的这种很小型的，比如说是一个food stand，就是在这边一个自己的这种自运营的一个企业。OK。
All right. And so, yes, that'll complete micro business. And the next program I wanted to talk about is an innovation focused program. This is called our Inclusive Innovation Hubs. The state has designated 10 regions across the state to serve as regional hubs to help stimulate economic development and job creation for innovation focused companies. Now, we started off with 10 initial hubs. But within the governor's new proposal, we are proposing to add 3 additional hubs, which would take our total number to 13. And along with that, we will be adding seed funding through those hubs to support small businesses coming through each of these respective hubs. So they'll not only get program funds to operate this hub program, but they'll also get seed capital to give to their small businesses that they're supporting.
第二个我要介绍的项目呢，我们叫包容性创新交流中心。现在整个加州我们已经开放的是10个，我们现在考虑再另外增加3个，这样总共一共到13个这样的交流中心。通过这个交流中心呢，我们会提供seed funding， 就是种子资金，来给一些创新企业。我们希望通过这些投资来促进企业的创新。
Right. And with the new proposal, we are asking to increase the program funds from 2.5 million is what it's currently at to 26.5 million. So we're asking for a significant increase in this program to further stimulate technology and commercialization, tech transfer, and really minority engagement into these innovation hubs. And how do we stimulate that job growth? And so these are some of the areas through this program that we're really focused on, as well as venture capital and angel capital really finding its way to these small businesses.
May I clarify, you said you were increasing from 2.5 million to 26.5 million?
Correct.
That's per program or total?
That's total programming. So this initial year, they gave us 2.5 for the 10 hubs. So that's 250 each. And so with this new one, they are proposing to do 26.5. It'll remain at, so each hub will get 1 million, 4 years in program funds, which will total $1 million. Plus they'll get an additional, I believe it's $500K annually to provide seed capital grants or startup grants to their businesses coming through their hubs or being supported through their hubs. And I think they get to do fund 5 businesses each year.
我们的投资金额现在正在从250万美金提高到2650万美金，总共给个10个现在的已经有的创新中心，我们可能另外还有50万美元增加。But this is very interesting, Chris. I'm just trying to understand better. I'm sure your audience want to hear that too. It's like with the funding, how does it work?
Right. So the beauty of it is the program details have not been written as of yet, but we know through the May 12 revise, the governor announced 2 Fridays ago. We do know that this is going to be one of the newer programs. However, we're looking at the program side of it will be very similar to how it's currently ran. So that increase of funding won't change there, but we will have a recompete process. So those 10 hubs that we have designated now will have to recompete if everything's approved by the legislature. And so at that time, we will have a statewide application process. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be rolled out, but we will have a application process, and then we would be on the hook to designate 13 hubs throughout the state. Obviously, Silicon Valley would get a hub itself. But that's dependent on the partners that apply for the program. So it's kind of like an optional thing. We are on the hook to designate 13, but the community has to apply for the funds as well. So that's part of what I do now, is making sure that folks are aware of the opportunities coming up and what potential can be grown from those opportunities. So this is one where you could set up an ecosystem to support small businesses around innovation, maybe a certain industry sector, maybe there's a certain gap within support services for innovation companies, or it could be a collection of things that provides education, connection to resources, funding, venture capital, things of that nature as well. So it could vary, but we really want like a real holistic or like a real hub type of environment that can cover all aspects of what the business needs, even workforce as well.
Okay, thank you very much. 2 clarifications. The funding is annually or total during a certain time frame?
Right. So the anticipation is that this 26.5 million will be rolled out. So each of the respective hubs will most likely get an agreement or a contract that will span over, I would say, 4 years. And so there would be some type of reimbursement process over a period of time. So I'm not sure if it would not be like a front loaded situation. It would be most likely a cost reimbursement type of program. But yes, each program would be under contract for essentially $1 million each for the program side. And then each year annually, I believe that's how they receive the seed capital.
So that's annually seed capital for that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
For about 46 years, did you say that?
The designation is 5 years. The funding is for 4.
Funding for 4. Okay.
So it's $1 million, $250K each year. We have not written out explicitly how we're going to roll the funds out. So it could be a combination. There could be a front load portion. It could vary. We're still working those details. We're very open to feedback on that. But that's essentially what we're thinking in terms of how the funding will roll out. We want to make sure that the organizations are there long term so that they can set up and build these partnerships and relationships and build out these efforts. So we want to make sure that they're solidified and they have that sustainable funding. And the seed capital can rotate in each year, but we haven't got to that far, that down into the details yet. But but yeah, that's the track we're going. So yeah, great question.
现在我们政府的计划是每年2650万资金的投入，每个 hub 是大约4年左右的周期。然后我们现在还没有开始这10个 hub 的选择过程，所以我们现在先对外释放这样的信息。这样呢，如果有因为将会是一个竞标投标的过程，这样在这个过程当中，如果有兴趣的单位就可以申请政府的这个资金。我们在选址和挑选参与的企业过程当中，非常欢迎大家的参与，而且我们希望每个 hub 将会建成一个自成一体的这样一个生态系统，中间可能我们以政府投资的形式支持相关的和的企业共同合作来发展。我们是有这样一个愿景。I have another question regarding the hub, because when we're talking about a hub, we're talking about more I'm sure it's not conceptual, but what kind of physical selection we're talking about? It's it's a very designated geographic location, comprised with multiple enterprises inside, or what are the envision of each hub looking like? The location will be more in the midst. You mentioned Silicon Valley, like we're in the city of Santa Clara. It's going to be right in the middle of Santa Clara amongst all the big companies, or we're focusing on more like Central Valley, or a little bit even on the suburb of Silicon Valley, where more minority group are concentrated.
Well, we're going to have 13 across the state. So each of the different regions throughout the state will have their own hubs. I think specifically for Silicon Valley in terms of location, that's really determined by the partners and who applies. We don't we don't dictate essentially where it should be located specifically. We allow the partners to dictate that, because our partners can come in different forms and different backgrounds and things of that nature, and so the proposals could come in many different forms. So we don't try to dictate that or prescript how that looks. I will say that we do have these regions. We do have regions kind of broken out throughout the state. So we do expect representation for each. So yeah, there'll be one in the San Joaquin Valley. There'll be others in Southern California, as well as like in the North State and other parts of California. But specifically for Silicon Valley, like Santa Clara, we would just like to see some type of collective proposal between, I would say, a collection of organizations throughout the region who all have a common goal and objective or vision around supporting small businesses in the innovation space. And we know what small businesses need. They need capital, they need resources, they need mentorship, and they need education. And so we really would like to see those hubs have all of those elements within them. And then also through the state, you can leverage our existing workforce training program called the Employment Training Panel, where you can subsidize or even for at no cost train your staff, your existing staff for your business. And that you don't have to be only a small business for that. That's also for medium and large size businesses as well. So that's also a piece of the iHub that we are also, really want to push hard, is the workforce piece. So absolutely, we like the creative idea. So we don't try to be too prescriptive with the location and things like that.
Okay. 我刚刚就是代表观众提了一个问题，就是说想问 Chris， 就是这10个或者未来13个地址的选择，就是他们的目标或者是愿景是什么样的？就是怎么样来选择，或者是说，想象中应该是一个具体的一个地方，还是说由多个企业的组合？那刚刚他对我的回答的意思呢，就是他们并没有一个既定的或者现成的一个想法，那他们希望把这个愿景抛出来以后呢，其实也是由一个互动的决定的过程，是由申请者他们将在未来的申请者当中选择他们认为一个比较更加适合他们这个结果的一个组合。那希望呢，在这个组合当中是相互之间都能够体现，就是这种技术的创新、教育和利用政府资源多方面的因素的一个结合。所以听起来就是 现在我们政府有这样一笔资金，非常希望支持中小企业自身的创新和融合，然后在这个整合资源的过程当中，可以通过合作来创造更大的价值。Thank you very much. I kind of put my little own words into it and then paraphrase.
It's okay. No, it's a lot. All right.
So, and is there a time agenda for this?
For the iHubs, we are looking at most likely November. Typically, November is around the time of year when we do release the program guidance and RFP and things of that nature. So I will look for the fall for new guidance and information related to the release and when we'll start accepting applications for this new round of designations. So that would be the timeline that I'm looking at. But in the meantime, if you would, I can share the link in the chat, but if you go to calosba.ca.gov and sign up for our newsletter, you can get those automatic updates when it is made available. And any other program guidance that comes out as well.
我希望了解这个项目的未来的时间规划。那 Chris 的回答是，大约是在今年的11月左右。那在他们会有一些具体的如何申请的一个指导信息会释放出来。那在这个过程当中呢，欢迎大家通过他们的网站订阅他们的newsletter， 这样的话呢就可以获得最更新的信息。
All right. And no, this was good. This was good. I figured that iHub would be an interesting or one that had a lot of interest.
Yeah, they're an actual program, and obviously, we have you here because we want to tap into it.
Yeah,
it have to be concrete and actionable.
Right? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so here's another program that we have open right now. But I wanted to bring this slide to people's attention because for one, there have been, the California Venues Program, and first let me give the background on it. There's a one-time $150 million grant allotment for eligible live event venues. And, essentially the use of funds were pretty broad. The maximum award amount was either $250,000 or 20% of the applicant's gross earned revenue from the 2019 taxable year. Throughout this program, we've had some challenges with different guidelines and things of that nature. So I just wanted to bring to people's attention, if you did apply for this program or if you know someone that did and they were assigned a decline letter, I would just have them go and circle back and check in with Lendistry as we are working to make updates to the program guidelines and things of that nature. So once approved, some of those folks that were originally declined may actually become eligible. So I just wanted to make people aware of that. If you know of anyone or if anyone's on here that did apply for this program, just wanted to give that update.
下一个我想特别介绍的项目呢，我们叫做加州场地援助项目。那这个项目呢，一共是1.5亿资金总额，然后每一位申请者可以获得25万美元，或者就是低于他不超过他们年营收的20%的资金。Sorry, I kind of missed a little detail. Do you say what the approval process is? Is it just application or is it easy approval or what?
Oh yeah, so what's happened is we had our initial round, and so that round closed, and so we received feedback from just from all over the place about the program, and so legislature allows us an opportunity to make updates to the programs and things of that nature, and so we're going through that process, and so we're looking to make it more expansive to allow more people. Maybe the guidelines that were originally set in place were a little too stringent. Not sure what the impetus was for that, but they do allow for us to make updates to the different programs if we see a need to improve it. And in this case, we want to make sure that as many people are eligible as possible. So that's what this change is all about. It's just making more people eligible for the funding.
Okay. Do you have the updated eligibility?
It has not been posted by the California legislature as of yet. You're getting the up to date, up to minute information.
Okay. When is that expected?
It could be any day. It could be tomorrow. It could be Monday. I mean, that's how it's fluid right now. Yeah.
这个项目呢，因为可能去年有一些企业主是熟悉的，然后已经领到这个25万的 funding， 但是也有可能因为当时原来的审核要求相对比较严格，那他们政府呢，因为收到了各方面的回馈，认为对这个项目应该放松审核的要求，所以现在加州政府正在重新制定这个场地援助项目的一个审批标准。听起来应该是会降低标准，也就是说会让他的申请审批更加容易，所以请大家呢就是及时更新了解，说不定很快你们的公司也可以符合这个25万的申请。What was the old one like, and what are the typical business owners who will qualify for this program in particular, or what's it designed for?
It was for live event venues. So if you have an open stage and you do performances at your location, such as like an amphitheater, like an outside amphitheater, or think about Coachella, for example, or somewhere, or even not restaurants, but there are some places that have like live bands and performances and things of that nature. Those will all be eligible. So like a live theater that does performances and things of that nature. Not motion picture theaters, but but like a live theater that maybe has ballet or tap or dance or something.
Like an outdoor summer camp or wedding venue or winery.
Not sure of the wineries. I would have to share. Yeah, we would have to go and look at the existing list. I'm not sure if wineries per se were on there, but there's this big thing about it having to have like a stage for performance. So that's one of the kickers. So some restaurants that do live performances are like full service restaurants that do live performances are eligible. And so I think that's where a lot of the ambiguity came, was because you had some that were okay in this area and then you had some that weren't. And so we just really wanted to make that more blanket so that more people were eligible. So I think with the updated changes, those groups or those individuals you pointed out, they would be eligible under these new changes. I think it was, it's a little bit more challenging before.
Wonderful. 我刚刚就是希望了解清楚这个项目呢是为哪一类型的生意来设计，或者是说特别想支持哪一类。他说到，因为我们叫场地援助项目，就是 venue。那什么样是 venue 呢？就是特别是像那种公开的表演场地，室外的影院，或者是有部分的餐厅，它如果本身带有表演场地的，那可能就是属于符合这个项目里的。所以如果您是做这方面的生意，或者有这样的一个场地，因为疫情的缘故，很多的聚会都被取消了，那我相信您的生意肯定是受到了影响。那您可以考虑申请加州的这个25万的这个场地援助项目。Wonderful.
Right.
We can keep
right. All right. The next program I have here is the California Dream Fund. This is a brand new program just released a couple months ago. This one is a one-time $35 million grant program. And this one's aimed to provide seed startup grants of up to $10,000 for small businesses within California. What we are classifying as a new business is any company that started after July 1 of 2019. So that means you're after July 1, 2019, it constitutes you're eligible for this funding. The only requirements of this program is that obviously, A, you must go and register your business and file all the appropriate documentation. But secondly, there's a required training program that you must complete with one of our 17 participating centers that are part of our technical assistance network. I can share the link here in the chat as well. But there should be centers, and our sub centers are helping support and amplifying that. But there are 17 centers that we have designated to run these cohorts through. And upon completion of the programs, the small businesses do get the grant funds. They don't get a lottery ticket. It's once they're in the training program and they complete the training program, they are entitled to those funds. There isn't like a lottery system or anything like that. So the real challenge is making sure that, people are getting into the training programs, because I would imagine those are probably filling up pretty quickly. But yeah, this is a great program. I wish there was more allocation we could put towards it, but yeah, I mean, $10,000 in seed grants to start your business is a good deal. So yeah, there's not much else to add to that one.
Yeah. Clarification again. Was a training program? How long is it? What is in it?
Right. So because we have a technical assistance network of about 89 centers across the state. And so each of those centers has a different, focus area for supporting small businesses. So we have some procurement focused centers. We have some that are focused in access to capital. So they focus is small business financing. We may have some that are focused in construction or tech and innovation. So based on that focus of that center, we let them develop and craft their own type of program that fits their scope, as long as it meets our overall guidelines. And we just said that it had to be between 8 and 12 weeks, or 6 and 12 weeks. And we just put like some programmatic pieces in there. But it's really basics. It's fundamental stuff to how to start your business. It's not anything too great in detail. We just really want to give these folks a real good foundation starting off, so that they'll get some support in entrepreneurial mindset, how to go about incorporating their business and setting their business up, whether that's the LLC, S Corp, what have you. There'll probably be some marketing and e-commerce depending on the feel of the center, because if it's a procurement type of center, they're not going to focus on the e-commerce or marketing or anything like that. So I think it varies on the center, but we gave them some very key guidance in terms of what we want them to have when they complete these training programs. So in terms of the specificity of it, it's really foundational education, and we just want them to get that learning. So when they start with this 10,000, they have the foundation already. And then. Go ahead.
Let me summarize. For the company who filed after July 1st, 2019 is qualified to apply, and they have to go through the training program, and they can get $10,000 from the government as a seed fund to start. And the total fund for this whole California Dream Fund is $35 million.
Correct.
Which do you know how far will go until?
That I'm not sure of.
And how much money has already been sent out, and how much are retained? It's new. It's only
nothing. Yeah,
we just started.
Yeah, just started. No awards have been issued yet. So at this point, it's just folks are loading up or trying to get into training programs. So I would suspect that's what's happening right now. But yeah, Lindustry was selected as the intermediary, so they'll be dispersing. They validate the companies and disperse the funds. And so, no funds have been dispersed as of today. But yeah, I would imagine here in the coming weeks, maybe a couple months, you'll start to see that start to roll out. And we do report out this data and information as well. So we make it all public. So
great. 刚刚我们讲了很多，实际上我们都是在讲现在加州政府最新推出的一个援助计划，我们叫加州梦想基金。那这个梦想基金呢，它是针对帮助就是新的企业。那小企业如果是在2019年7月1号以后成立的，都可以申请这个梦想基金。它的金额是1万元每一个小企业，实际上是帮助想创业的这一部分的小企业。那他们最关键的部分呢，就是在你申请之后呢，你必须通过加州政府提供的一个训练一个过程training program。那这个训练呢，通常都是在6到12周，根据每个不同的 training center， 全加州一共有89个。那可能你会找到更适合您的行业或者是地理位置的这样一个 training center。通过他们一个 training program 之后呢，政府因为希望你们拿到这个资金，然后可以了解如何去成立公司和最简单，比如说去怎么样去准备市场推广，公司的成立，会提供这方面一些训练，然后希望帮助你们可以成功。这个项目因为是最新刚刚推出，然后总资金是3500万，所以大家有兴趣的现在马上就可以到他们的网站上去申请。
Chris, this is a 5-minute warning for you.
Oh, okay. All right, let me speed this up. All right, next one here is the California Nonprofit Performing Arts Grants Program. This is a one-time $50 million grant allotment to provide grants of up to $75,000 to eligible nonprofit performing arts organizations. And this is focused around workforce development. So this funding will go to workforce and employee related costs. And as I see here on the screen, I won't go into all of the eligible uses of funds. But again, this grant isn't typical of ours. This is more of the workforce field. But again, we're putting a lot of emphasis in supporting the growth of the workforce side. So this program has not started. We are looking to, my estimation is that June, we'll have an announcement in June when this date will when we will start accepting applications. But this one, the industry has been selected as the third-party intermediary. So they'll be running the program, and there'll be a program landing page and site for this that'll be announced very soon.
最后我们要介绍的一个项目是非盈利表演艺术援助项目。这个项目的总资金是5000万，然后每一次投放是7万5，主要是针对于表演艺术项目的。我们会有一些，现在我们的荧幕上面也有一些就是具体的金额。I'm curious what will be defined。这个项目是从今年6月份开始申请，目前还没有，但是马上就要开始。You know, in the Chinese community, obviously we have performing arts. We also have some, you know, like kung fu or, you know, will those all considered as performing arts?
That is my interpretation. Yes.
我刚刚提了一个问题，就是说，就是我们在华人的社区里面，因为还有很多像类似于，比如说功夫啊，就是这样的非主流的一些表演项目，是不是也能够符合？然后 Chris confirm 说也是可以的。OK。
Yep. And just additional, in terms of procurement, we do have a procurement initiative, which is called Source Diverse, Source Local, which is aimed at focusing our government contracted dollars from our partners at DGS and Caltrans to focus on California-based companies. We as a state contract a lot, and we do a lot of business out of the state. Which is a bit excessive from the governor's standpoint. And so we want to have a renewed focus on contracting and doing business with companies that are California based. And so part of my role is developing training programs for that. And it's called Source Diverse, Source Local. I'll put the link to that page in the chat here. But again, we'll be running regional cohorts throughout the state. And I will have to get the local center for your region, but there will be cohorts running in every part of the state that will be developing training around procurement. the basics of access to capital, procurement-based capital, teaming and partnerships, insurance and bonding, as well as general growth and business management. For a lot of the back office operational needs are things that are challenges for businesses to manage in the contracting space. And so with that, for the sake of time, you can just contact me directly and I can get you all connected with the partners in your region or your respective centers. But with that, I'll wrap it up here and I'll put my contact information in the chat.
我的主要的工作呢，就是帮助加州的企业来获得政府的援助和支持，所以我们也有一些项目是专门针对于在加州的公司和企业的，所以我想特别的鼓励，如果您现在在加州有经营公司的话，可以通过我们各地的办事处，也可以直接跟我的来联系，我会把我的联络方式今天留给主办方，欢迎大家直接跟我发 email， 然后了解我们现在主持的一些项目。并且尤其是如果您是加州的公司的话，欢迎你们积极的申请。
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate you being here and providing